Madam Chair, you are all set and we can begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the December 16th Human and Community Services Committee meeting to order. Liam should be joining us in just 1 second. This is my first time running my own committee meeting, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to be a part of this group of people, and I'm excited about our future. So we will start with our first item, business item, and that will be about the new Elmwood Community Center. Town Manager Hart.
Good morning, everyone. Matt Hart, Town Manager. Good to see you online. Welcome to today's meeting. We have a handful of items we'd like to discuss at this point in the agenda. I think it would probably make most sense, Madam Chair, we could go to various staff. I'll start off, and then if we could turn to Mr. Palmer, and then Ms. Rubino, Turco, and Ms. Waxman.
That would be great.
But we would like to talk about where we left off with the last council term with a proposal to establish an advisory committee for this project. Secondly, we've gone out to bid, and Mr. Palmer can take the lead on this. We've gone out to bid to retain some consulting assistance to assist us in the early stages of the project. We want to give you an update there. And then I know Leisure Services and the library have been conducting tours and touching base with their colleagues around the state. It would be helpful to hear from them as well. So I'll lead off to talk about the advisory committee. And I'm sure that my colleagues will want to add a little bit to this. But this is a proposal we submitted to the committee towards the end of last term at its October meeting. And we suggested, this is something we had been discussing in the early stage of this project, that the council establish an advisory committee for the planning and design stages of the project. So the planning and design stages, and then once we get into construction, the council could disband the committee if it wished to do so. You know, and we think it would be very helpful to establish this committee to assist us in engaging the broader community, including key stakeholders like the library board, senior center board, etc. So what we recommended in October was that the council establish a 9-member committee. I should have added, I'm sorry, the memo that Helen and Carol had prepared is loaded in Civic Clerk if you want to open it. But we had recommended that the council establish a committee with a representative from the library board, from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, from our Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission, from our Senior Citizens Advisory Board, Clean Energy Commission, the Elmwood Business Association, the Mayor's Youth Council, and then 2 residents at large. And, you know, we think the committee would meet monthly, maybe more often during the early stages as needed, and that we would invite the chosen architect or planning firm to these meetings. This is a model that other communities have successfully employed when constructing a major project or embarking on a major initiative like this. You may want to establish, you know, add some representatives, make the committee a little bit larger, but I would caution against making it too big because then it could become unwieldy. I think I'll pause there, and through you, Counselor, Madam Chair, I would ask Helen and Carol to comment.
Yes, please.
So this is Helen Rubino Turco, Director of Leisure Services and Social Services. We've in fact already started to reach out to all of these stakeholders and have been bringing them up to speed on this project for at least 6 months. So we have open lines of communication with them. We have alerted them to the fact that we would like them to be involved in the process of figuring out what's going to be in the senior center and you know what it's going to look like. So we've discussed this with Parks and Rec Advisory Board, with the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, Elmwood Business Association, you know, Matt Hart and Carol and I, and to some extent Bob Palmer, have been speaking with these various commissions all along. But it makes sense for each of them to really get to at least have a regular liaison and maybe even a backup that would regularly listen to the questions and the community engagement that this architecture / design firm is going to be doing. So we really want these stakeholders to be involved from the very beginning, which is right now, which is kind of liaising with the design team as they create their feasibility study and also the programmatic development. So this company will be, as Bob will tell you, they will be gathering, you know, information from our community, but we need, you know, we want to help with this community engagement. And by creating this advisory board, that makes sure that people have a conduit to get information, but also to give information. So we think it's a very important step in our community engagement.
Thank you, Helen. I agree. Would you like to go, Ms. Waxman?
I would very much. Thank you so much. I'm Carol Waxman, Interim Library Director and Manager of Children and Teen Services. So I have been visiting a few other communities along with Ellen Phillips, who is the children's librarian from the Faxon branch, and Pramod Pradhan, who is our community engagement librarian. And it has been an eye-opening experience. We have visited community centers in Niantic and Shelton, Connecticut. So far, we're searching for others. It seems as if when we get to these destinations that it's such a simple, easy, and perfect concept of having community services all in one building. The 2 community centers that we visited were all in schools that were repurposed to be community centers. And in each, we saw a combination of senior center, teen center, and daycare center, recreational facilities such as a large gym with a stage, rooms for cultural opportunities and classes, plus a public library, even a post office and the registrar of voters. So people visiting these community centers had a one-stop shopping. And as we walked in and saw the large lobby, we were amazed that people were sitting in the lobby, just hanging out in the lobby of the community center, ready to enter a class, ready to go to the library. It seemed to make so much sense. We were beyond excited having visited. We took photos and videos. We filled out a siteless questionnaire, and we are prepared to share this with anybody and to certainly go on more visits. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds great. I would love to see those photos and videos. Yes, Ms. Rubino Turco.
I wanted to just touch on one of the things that Carol had mentioned, and that was that we developed a site visit questionnaire so that whenever we went places, we would be asking the same questions and gathering kind of as much identical information as possible so that when we put them all into a spreadsheet and try and figure out, you know, where we want to take, we've asked the same questions. And that includes, and so Bob and Carol and I developed this list. You know, obviously the facts about the building, such as, you know, when it was built and what size is it and what was the cost and who's the designer and everything. But also, you know, what are the amenities? What are the components that are in there, as Carol described? What are the amenities, whether it's a recreation or programmatic? What other offices are in there? What other staff offices? You know, how is it financed? You know, details of the square footage and the parking, and then also what our general impressions are. But one of the questions that we're asking every place we go is, what do you wish you had done differently? And what do you wish you hadn't done? You know, what did you wish you had? And what did you know, what went well and what went wrong? And those are the kinds of you kind of get those nuances like, oh, you know, we wish we had a covered entrance. You know, we've got all these other things, but that's the one thing that we're like. So it is kind of a, we're building our own wish list, but these are also kind of factors that we're searching for as we go around the state and around the region.
Thank you for that. Mr. Palmer?
Good morning, everybody. Bob Palmer, Director of Plant and Facility Services. So as part of this process, I've, on behalf of the town, have issued a request for proposals for a feasibility and a functional program study for the Olmwood Community Center. So there's typically this will be an architectural and/or planning firm that will respond to this. Preferably a larger firm that has experience doing that is how we structured the RFP. So that was issued on November 15th. Proposals are due tomorrow, Friday the 17th. We responded to requests for information on Monday. We posted those out. We had 7 or 8 questions, I guess, from 3 or 4 different firms that came in. Next week, we'll begin reviewing those proposals and then set up a short list for interviews to interview firms to get a sense of what they can do for us to help us with this process. So, and really their charge is to, as Helen and Carol have stated, is to work with the committee, the advisory group, and town staff in order to help us determine what goes into this building and if the current structure that we've purchased there can be utilized to meet our goals, or do we have to look at some type of a modification or a complete new facility? So that would be part of the process as well, is to study that.
Awesome. I love that it's moving along. Mr. Sweeney, would you like to say something? I know this is something that is, you know, priority for you and would love to hear your thoughts on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was looking at I think we talked about this at the last meeting. You know, I think that the list of folks that we have on this committee are a good start, but it needs to certainly, and please excuse the background noise, is go time at the Sweeney household this morning. Yeah, I mean, I think that there certainly needs to be some sort of representative from the Board of Ed. There needs to be more than just one student on this board because the kids are the ones that are going to be using this. And we need to kind of get their input on this, and maybe that's in a completely separate fashion that we do that. But I just, one of the things, you know, I really want to make sure that we are focusing on is the youth experience that is going to come out of this center. I love that idea, though. I don't know, Carol, if you brought that up, that there's a register of voters is in there. That's pretty good. But again, you know, where I'm coming from is, I do love the having a lot of town services in one spot. This is really, for me, the number one focus is on the kids' experience in this facility. This is to really focus for me is on the teen and the kind of a teen experience that goes on in here, what we're providing to the kids, and obviously that coupled with you know, what we're going to do with the library, as those two I think are very much connected. So I think that's important. I also, and then going to the facilitation of this firm to determine what we're doing, I totally understand that. I just don't think that there needs to be a debate on us using the current facility that's there on the property. There's nothing in that building, and I've been in that building, that I see as something that we would take on to the next generation. The gym is antiquated. It is not at all what I would envision for what we would move forward with. And you know, we've seen what a converted classrooms look like over at Elmwood. I don't think we need that either. I think, The other place that I would suggest, Carol and Helen, if you go look at a really nice community center, is the Wilson Gray YMCA in the north end of Hartford. It is a spectacular facility. I'm not sure why. I would say, Helen, I'm sure the first thing they would tell you is what they shouldn't have done is put a rock climbing wall in there. I'm not sure it gets a whole lot of use. But what I really like about it, I think the gym is a little bit small for what we would look for. But secondly, what I really like about it is the rooms that they have set up. They're like smart rooms and have the ability kind of to break out and move into all different types of things, whether you're extending, tutoring in there, you're doing community conversations, you have the ability to log into projectors and things of that nature. Obviously, that technology has kind of substantially changed over the last 10 years, but those are the things that I think that we really need to focus on. And I think the other point was we need to have, facility for daycare as well. I think that is a huge thing that we need to continue to offer the community. So those are the big things that I would focus on. And I know that we're in really good hands with Mr. Palmer moving forward on this. I think most people share that lived experience with St. Bridget's, that it doesn't really need a whole lot of consideration of use. I think it's just how we move forward with it, the actual property. So.
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Mayor Cantor. Sorry, I'm not on video, but I would love to comment. My internet's being worked on, actually. So I just wanted to make sure that when we are talking about this, that we are talking about all the stakeholders. Yes, the youth are a priority and important, especially now. I think we see the need, but this investment is community wide. And the more support that we get, and I think the broader I think the broader the description and the understanding of what this can be, we will get more support for the investment that the community needs to make not just a community center of today, but a community center for the next 50 years, as we talked about. So. I think that's important. I do think this advisory group is representative and has representatives of constituent groups. So adding to it can be cumbersome and difficult. I would say, leaving it at 9 to 11 is probably a good number. And I would say that, the community engagement, whether it be youth, seniors, library, counseling, a variety of, it's really the kind of the function of this group to do that community outreach and bring it back to the advisory commission with information that then will flow to us. So I think that's how we frame it. And I would say we will, assign this group in the next, in January, whether it be the first meeting, if we can actually nail down those names, or the second meeting, to make sure that we get this group up and running. So they can, even on their own, do some research and start to do their research, of other community centers and also with their own constituent groups that they're representing. So this is such an exciting opportunity, and truly it's transformational for our community, and we want to make sure that we are including everybody in the process and making sure that this is something that really serves our community again for the next 50 years.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Fay?
Yes, good morning, everybody. And I'm sorry again, I'm not on screen. I had a little surgical procedure yesterday and I'm still a little groggy. But anyway, and you wouldn't want to see me. But I echo everybody's words. And as you know, I wasn't enthusiastic about this in the beginning because of the cost. We did get the bond. So obviously this is a go, and I am certainly on board now. Just a couple of comments. I do think it's a very, very unique opportunity, probably, as somebody mentioned at one point, once in a generation. So I would encourage everybody to think way outside of the box. I love the comment earlier, and I can't remember who made it, about visiting these places and seeing something unique like a post office. Now, I'm not suggesting a full-fledged, well, post office, but maybe someplace that you could get stamps and maybe a drop-off box or something. We got to consider staffing, but we really got to be broad in our thoughts. And Lamb, I certainly appreciate your thoughts about the condition of the building. I've been in that too several times, not a lot, but a few times. But I don't know that we should take that off the table about repurposing at this point, or perhaps, I don't know, these architects and people on our team do amazing things with buildings, and it could look like a brand new thing. I don't know enough about, the condition, but I don't know that we should take that off the table just yet. But along the lines of the post office comment, just little convenient things, an ATM machine. The sky's the limit when you bring in other things that wouldn't take up a lot of space, but would be convenient for folks. And I'll just leave you, this shows my age. I came from a big family of 4 kids, and everybody was busy. My mom was a teacher, dad was working. And I remember a lot of times on Sundays after church, we'd get home and blue laws were different. Stores weren't always open. And there wouldn't be enough milk for the next day for all of us for cereal and stuff. And so my dad would go out to, and I couldn't believe they had this in Manchester. They had this, it was like a soda machine, but it was from a dairy, and you just put money in, and out comes your, half gallon of milk. And I just want to be really innovative and really think outside of the box. Just think about the conveniences that we could put in there for people who frequent. So maybe get a survey of the folks that would really use this and see what would be helpful to them. And that was just an example, but I just really want to be innovative and be way outside a typical thing. So I will tell you that I've been to some of these centers in other states, and they're very, very impressive, and they contain a ton of services. And I don't know if there's something nearby that we could do a field trip, maybe to Massachusetts or something, or Rhode Island. I don't know if they have them there, but I'm speaking about Florida in particular, because I know certain regions of it, and they're just unbelievable what's in there, and they're always crowded and bustling. It's like a mini community. So those are just my comments, but you can see that I've come around 100%. I'm very excited about this. I
Thank you, Ms. Gray.
should say
I
nine-
know,
I should say 90 degrees, because 100% would be back to where you started. Sorry.
Ms. Rubino Turco, I know you've been trying to speak for a moment, and then to Mr. Cortez.
I just wanted to assure Mr. Sweeney that we do have the Wilson Gray. We have actually reached out to them, so we do intend to visit there. But also, we've been to Bloomfield, to their multi-use community center, and we have several others on our list. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo, some of the stuff everybody's been saying. Liam brought up a good point. This is an old building. If you have an old car, you will always have problems. There'll be a cost with that. So I think even though we could do amazing thing with old buildings, there'll always be, roof problems or issues along the road. I managed a church, down the road from this site, and part of it has been refurbished, and there's costs that come along the way that we always have to factor. But also, I want to echo what Mary Faye was saying as well, Mrs. Faye was saying, and, we got to think big, and how do we make this continue giving, to the community? One of the things, could we have a community garden? There's stuff we already have in place in our schools that we can kind of transfer over there, and like a community garden would be a good idea, especially for the people in that area that, might be struggling with food insecurities. I know the food share is using a space right now, so how do we, kind of make it give back? And that's my feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. I do like that idea. We have a lot of great community groups from Westmore Park, Root to Rise, and the Food Share. Thank you. I agree. We have to think outside the box, and I think that we have to make sure this is serving the entire community, especially our youth, but the entire community, because everyone is a stakeholder in this. And I agree, we don't want the advisory to be too large, but I don't disagree that someone from the Board of Ed, when we're talking about education, should be on there. So we can, we'll discuss, 9 to 11 folks and make sure that we have the right folks taking us forward and going back into the community so we can get the information we need and move along and next steps and marketing it to the community so we can get a larger community feedback on as we see the building, the markups and the designs of it. So I appreciate everyone and your work and what you're doing. Does anyone else have anything they would like to say in regards? Town Manager Hart?
Thank you, Matt Hart, Town Manager. So just so we're clear on direction for staff, Madam Chair, you all are going to deliberate and think about the number, and then we'll be prepared to bring the proposed composition of the committee to council sometime in January.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one comment? So are you, can I ask one question? Can you actually reaching out with recommendations for names from those committees, commissions, or is that something that we're doing? I'm a little confused on it.
Mayor Matt Hart, we've done some of that. Whatever the committee prefers. We certainly could recommend. And some of these groups may want to self-select. For example, I would imagine the library board, they would want to deliberate and appoint a representative. The others may wish to do the same.
Thank you. So what I would, sorry, Madam Chair, I'm kind of go through you. So what I would suggest is that staff, distribute or submit a list to me, to the council, whatever, to this committee, with recommendations of, obviously you have the list of groups. I think we want to add maybe a couple of more. But also maybe suggestions or recommendations from the group or the comment self-select, from the group, and we can draft a letter to the chair of those groups to direct them to, because again, if they're not meeting, I do want to get this group up and going. If they're not meeting until, end of January, it's going to delay so maybe they can move things along, if we could provide a deadline to them. That would be helpful. I would like to see that before, and we want to make sure that we have a variety of voices and a variety of areas in town, and just a diverse group too. So I want to make sure that we can look at the group in totality as well. Each individual constituent base may have an opinion, but I also think we have to kind of look at the group as a whole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree. So do we want to put together the letter, or shall we have
I think
members?
staff should draft. Yeah, I think staff should draft the letter and we can look at it and make any edits we want.
Thank you. Yes, Miss.
Helen Rubino, Turco. Some of the committees, stakeholder groups have already discussed amongst themselves who would be interested. So we certainly are a little bit ahead of the game there, so that we should be able to collect resumes and letters of interest from each of those committees, or many of those committees already. And that should help us speed this along.
Great. Do you know when you might be able to get that to us? The first of the year? Yes.
Matt Hart, Town Manager. We meet as a staff. We have a little bit of a project committee. We can meet soon and debrief and make assignments, and we will certainly get the committee something by the end of the calendar year.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments on the Elmwood Center, the new one? Okay, we will move to the next business item, and that's the proposed leisure services fee changes. Mr. Hart or Ms. Rubino Turco?
I'll just kick it off. Matt Hart, Town Manager. Thank you. So periodically, and you'll find a memo regarding this agenda item as well, periodically, almost every year, Ms. Rubino Turco will recommend various adjustments to our fee schedule. Many of the if not most of the recreational programs that we provide are supported through our leisure services fund or through user fees, the golf course being a prime example. So we wanted to, we try to stay on top of market conditions and constantly comparing where we are, where our fees are in comparison to like facilities and other municipalities. We try to be very fair and judicious in our recommendations, and we do have a small number of adjustments we would like to propose for the new calendar year. So I'd like to pause there and turn to Ms. Rubino Turco, and I see Mr. Blanchard's on the line as well.
Thank you. Helen?
Thank you. So as Matt Hart explained, every year we review our rates to make sure that they're competitive within the marketplace, to make sure that we're not underpricing ourselves, but also that we're being fair and balanced in how we make our requests. And so the requests that you have before you are basically in 3 areas. One is at our outdoor pools, and then the others are at our golf courses and a minor change at the skating rink. So we haven't made any changes in 2 years, but at the same time, minimum wage has gone up $2 and will go up again on July 1. So basically $3 since the last time we really made substantive changes. And so this is one of the factors that drives our budget, because many of these facilities that we've just discussed, we do hire people just above minimum wage. So a lot of lifeguards and camp counselors or skate monitors and that kind of thing. As you also know, Leisure Services operates with a couple of different funds. The General Fund and then the Enterprise Fund and the Westmore Park Fund are the 3 for Leisure Services. And in the General Fund, of course, is where our swimming pools are. We now outsource the management of our pools to Cornerstone, which is sort of, they're acting as our, if you will, our aquatics director. And that's really great because they have a lot of expertise, but they're also helping bring up the level of services, and they're being very smart about how to tweak hours and how to tweak kind of the staffing to make sure that everything is covered, but in a really economical way. So we really appreciate their good work. But we are proposing a $1 increase for residents and non-residents at our outdoor pools. As I said, the main driver here is minimum wage. And since the last time we did this, minimum wage has caused our salaries to rise about, between $8,000 and $9,000, about $8,000 per year. So that was, now this will help ease that impact on the general fund. In the enterprise fund, the golf courses and the skating rink. The skating rink is fairly easy. There's really no changes other than renting the whole sheet of ice. And that's really market rate. And it'll bring in an additional, I believe, $10,000, but the skating rink is doing really, really well. The 4 components of the enterprise fund, the rink, the indoor swimming pool, the golf course, and our camps. The rink was the first one that we helped address, and it's doing well. So these are minor tweaks. They also changed the dates of what they consider to be in season, and that's really also based on their volume of use and the competition of the other arenas. In the golf course, we haven't gone up for 2 years. We have a new golf professional. He started last season, or this past season, so in 2021 for the season. And we didn't want to make any changes in his first year. So we'd made no changes last year. So really it's been 2 seasons. And the changes that we're proposing are, you know, in the 2 to 3% range. So it's fairly modest. The greens fees would go up $1, and the golf passes would go up for residents between 3.2% and 3.8%. So again, they haven't changed in 2 years, and this keeps us competitive with our similar communities, similar facilities that are municipal golf facilities in our peer communities. And at Buena Vista, which is our 9-hole executive course, the changes there again are going up $1, but for the full season pass for individuals, it goes up. For residents, it goes up $20. For seniors, it goes up $15. And for the partial membership, which is seniors that want to play on the off periods, it's just going up $10. I'm sorry, $10, a 4.3% increase, and that's for the golf passes. So we feel these are reasonable. You know, an average pass holder at Rockledge, we have about 260 people. They play an average of 180 rounds per year. And, you know, we really feel that the increase of 3.2% for seniors for the full pass and 3.8% for an individual resident is reasonable. The fees that these would generate are pretty substantial, though. 35,000 at Rockledge and perhaps 16,000 at Buena Vista. But I just wanted to read for you briefly a statement that came from our golf course superintendent. And he said, the increases we have made that we suggest in hopes to offset what is going to be a season of incredibly high costs in our not just in grass seed, but also in the pest management systems. Every single vendor that we deal with, the number one thing that they say is they're getting materials, and that the materials that they can get, they expect a minimum 35% increase. In addition, we've got some great new leases on some good new machinery, but the cost to repair our old machinery and to find parts is also increasing. So we really feel that this is the time to make this increase. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I also have Mark Blanchard, who's the manager in leisure services. And as we build our budgets, you know, we're also very aware of the minimum wage increase. So he's also available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rubino Turco. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the, yes, Mr. Sweeney?
Helen, thank you for this. It is clear that everyone is being impacted by this new economy, and obviously the golf course is not able to avoid that. I'm almost thinking that in this case that did you guys think about going? You know, I don't like to say this, but have you thought about going bigger so that we don't have to keep like annually coming back to this? Because I know that we didn't do anything last year, but we've done. Since I've been on the council, it seems pretty regular that we've been increasing it. And you know, I just kind of wanted to address that, and then additionally, one of the things that I've expressed with you is that I want to ensure that if we're going to be increasing fees for next season, that we have a functional caddy shack or restaurant on the premise. And if that means that we have to find a new vendor to operate that I think that we need to explore that. Because last year I played a couple of times, and that the place that we contract with someone was never open. And I understand that there were this is, please understand, this is not directed at you. It is, I think it's just a frustration with, for me, I found that to be a failure on the vendor, because I know that every other public golf course in the state seemed to figure out how to do that, and it was a able-bodied kind of sample of people out there to go get money from, right? Like Rockledge is packed, from six to closing, and the idea that they don't have the ability to staff that doesn't make any sense to me, because that means that they don't have the ability to make any money off of that. I can understand restaurants that don't have people in it, but Rockledge was as it was basically getting fish in a barrel there. So I would love to explore that, and if we're for the next season, something that we do. But I totally understand and appreciate what you guys are trying to do here, and I think that makes sense, because I thank you for that note from the superintendent. I think that's really helpful, because he also did a spectacular job there, despite the weather being what it was. So totally appreciate everything that you're talking about. And again, I want to be very clear that the lack of service at the for food there was not something directed at you. It's more frustration with the vendor that, to be honest, we all put a lot of heart and support in their move to Rockledge. So
if I may, Chairwoman, to respond to Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, of course.
So there are two things that you mentioned. One is, did we consider different rates? We did, but we felt that we also really wanted to be judicious and fair with our consideration in comparing also with other like communities. We are still under them, but this also gives us a little bit of an advantage to get to generate revenue without kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. We also really appreciate the loyalty that our men's club and our women's club, ladies club, give to our community and to Rockledge. And so we also just really want to be respectful of our community, and we feel that the rates that we settled on will certainly help us in our efforts. In the second portion is regarding the Rockledge Grill and their management of the snack bar. It was also a really challenging time for restaurants to find staff. We want to be respectful also of the stress that our local restaurants have had in getting enough staff. And so it is something that we'll discuss with them. It is an important amenity for our golfers, and the beer cart. And so those are both tools that we want to see them utilizing in a robust way. But again, we did discuss it with them, and they were really facing challenges with staffing due to the pandemic.
Thank you, Ms. Rubino Turco. Does anyone else have any comments or questions in regard to the fee?
Yeah, can I just follow up on that? I'm not trying to press it, but there are so many other places in the state that did not have this problem. I get that there is a shortage in restaurants, and that makes sense to me. But that the shortage is because they don't have that people don't want to work because they're not going to make any money. I would say that there's ample ability for people to make money on that golf course. And if they don't want to, if they are going to fall down on it, it looks. I think the big thing is it makes us look bad because we have a absolutely packed golf course and ample opportunity to take care of people, and people are looking at, to your point, Helen, we don't want to raise the rates too much because we don't want to offend people, but you have those members that you just spoke so eloquently about. They're the ones that are there every day and aren't able to use any of these facilities that they're basically paying for. And so I would just say, look, if the current vendor is going to continue to say that they can't do that, then we find someone else. I'm pretty certain that we can do that. I know there are smaller golf courses that are able to staff completely and do the same thing. This is an ample community to go and make some money off of for any other vendor. So I totally appreciate what you're saying. I just don't really necessarily think that we as a town can necessarily just take that for what it is. I think we have a lot of really capable restaurateurs in town that can do this. So
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Ms. Fay?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman. The one thing, and I apologize, I don't have my package in front of me. I usually, Helen, when you do a competitor analysis with surrounding like functions, so golf courses and for example, and pools, if it's there, I apologize. I don't have my laptop. Gerida has it. So if you can just kind of put it in context of how we fit in competitively, because I think Mr. Sweeney mentioned that, these things aren't unique to West Hartford. They're all over different municipalities. And I want to make sure that we're not, raising rates and maybe decreasing volume. That would be my question. And then in terms of Mr. Sweeney's comments, I agree that we need to maximize all of our assets, whatever they are. And if they're not, being operated to their fullest extent, in this case, he mentioned the Caddy Shack, we do have to look at it. I think there's many alternatives. We don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We may be able to, Rockledge, clearly the restaurant is successful. It's packed all the time. There's many functions there. He's done, and this is not personal against the operator. We got to get it right. But there was substantial improvements made in the restaurant. Maybe you can, get somebody else to run the Caddy Shack. I don't understand the operations, and certainly these are just suggestions or things off the top of my head. But I agree with Liam that we all our facilities need to be operated to their full extent, and we need to provide the amenities that our customers, serving the customers, have come to expect. So I agree with his comment, but I just want to make sure that we're not out of line, because people do have choices. And there's certainly a ton of golf courses in our area. We're blessed with that. And I just want to make sure we're not out of whack. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rubino Turco.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Yes, I did not include in your packet a direct, course rate comparison, but we did do that. So we, for example, Timberland, Stanley, and Simsbury are all going up. Timberland and Simsbury, who are charged more in the same realm as we do. Timberland's going up $35 per member. Simsbury's going up $50 per member, and this is for the season passes. Everyone's going up around about the same in the greens fees that we were doing, a dollar increase. But we're within the range. We're lower than Timberland and Simsbury by about 100, maybe $50 to $80 under Simsbury, and about 50, 60, about, trying to do the math in my head. We're under what Timberland will be charging. but they do it a little differently. So we take a $1.50 from every round of golf and put it into our CIP, whereas they separate it out. So like at Timberland, they might charge a lower amount for a season pass, but they charge them $2 for 18 holes every time they go to play golf. So it ends up being about the same or more than what we're asking. So, you know, you have to undo all of the spaghetti strands to figure out exactly dollars to dollar, you know, apples to apples, what everybody's doing. But we're within, we're certainly a slightly lower than our peer communities, other than Stanley, where they have a town card and then they have a charge. So, but it's still less than what we charge, absolutely. But their product is different, and they have a different model. So this, the fees that we charge for various facilities are, most of our fees are governed by your decisions, the town council. And so that's why the fee changes are presented to you in the form of a resolution. And what we try to do for you is give it to you. This is the way it is now. This is what we're intending to do. We crunch our numbers, we make our recommendations to you, but it still comes to you in the form of a resolution. So that's why this is an action item then you would reflect on and either support or we can change, and then it would come to a town council meeting in the form of a resolution.
Was someone else speaking? Mayor Cantor? Mr. Sweeney, any other comments?
No, I appreciate it. This is been through this a couple times now, and Helen's doing a great job on this. I know this is a really difficult thing to do because it is such an important piece to the community, and there are a lot of factors. I think more importantly, you know, just kudos to the whole team at Rec for dealing with all of the weather that went our way last year, and was somehow able to stand up a really spectacular you know, public facility throughout that. So really appreciate all the work, and you know, just really, as I think Mary said really well, you know, we want to make sure we have a high standard here in town, and I think that we would like to keep that for all things that are included in our public facilities, and I know that Helen shares that as well. So
I agree, Mr. Sweeney, and with Ms. Fay. Thank you guys for thinking about the community and staying reasonable and keeping us competitive at the same time. And thank you for all the work that you've done to create this, you know, this document and show us why it's needed and give us the reasons. Mr. Blanchard, did you want to add anything based on what you've heard?
No, thanks for having me. Thanks everybody. I appreciate you having me on today. We look at our fees. So I'm more on the side of the pools, and so we've seen the reality at the outdoor pools is the majority of residents have an opportunity to buy discount passes. So even though there's a daily fee that many people do pay, a very large portion of our community is using season tickets, or they're not season tickets, they're punch cards. So you can buy them in denominations of 10, 20, or 50 swims. And then since Cornerstone took over, we had a lot of technology changes. So we're able to put them right on the computer. And when you arrive at the pool, you give your name, the cashier looks up your account, and they'll be able to tell you, oh, you're down to your last 4 swims, you're down to your last, you might want to recharge. They can go online, they can recharge. So a lot of people are getting their swims at a discounted rate if you're a resident. And so those other folks that are coming once or twice, they're paying the daily fees. And we are taking credit cards at the pools now. That was a nice addition last year for technology. credit and debit cards. So, and then having the Cornerstone crew come on has just given us another level of training and expertise, which has been really good. We had a lot of growing pains last year because it was the first, as you transition from any model to another model, there's going to be some growing pains and transition. I'll be meeting with Mike Kerrigan from Cornerstone tomorrow to really map out the plan moving forward. But we're really excited to have them on because of the level of expertise that they bring. But I did want to talk about, in regards to fees, the residents have a number of options that they can utilize. And if you were to buy 50 swims, it's cheaper than if you buy 10, for instance. So the more swims you buy, the bigger your family, the more times you're coming to the pool, you have the opportunity to have a lower cost per visit. So that's kind of what we try to achieve, and that's what we want to, when people visit the pool, if they're a resident, our cashiers are well versed in letting them know what their savings options are. So that's a nice thing that we try to really explain to people what they have available to them.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. That's great to know. And I'm happy we're past those growing pains now. We're moving forward with technology and other things that are convenient for our residents, because that's what we want. Even to go back to the Elmwood Center, when Ms. Fay was talking about like ATMs, we're introducing self-service kiosk. So those are the types of things we want to be thinking about moving forward with any project that we do, is to make sure it's convenient to our residents. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Nope. We have number 3, communications.
No additional communications, Madam Chair. You can just go to staff reports.
Thank you. Staff reports. How about our library update with Ms. Waxman?
Thank you so much, Carol Waxman, Interim Library Director. With everybody discussing all of the challenges of rising prices and services, our library is free, open, as safe as it can be, and we're so proud to offer that service to our community and to people in other communities. Our biggest challenge this year, and the challenge that still continues, is pandemic protocol, in particular with our children. We have so many children visiting the library. I am in touch with the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District almost every day. What do we do? How do we do it? So what has happened is, with the rise in the positivity rates and the fact that we've had to bring our children's programming indoors, unfortunately, we can only service children ages 2 and older for programming and in small groups, as the health department informs us to do so. All library visitors are wearing masks. We had hoped to bring adults into the building in January for in-person programming, but we will remain virtual. As of now, we will continue to study, and as soon as it is safer, we will have more people back for programming. So this year, despite the challenges, we have provided 3 new services that we're very proud of. We offer now smart lockers at the Bishop's Corner branch, self-service all the way. What happens is people can put books on hold. They have a choice of whether to go into the Bishop's Corner branch library or pick up their items outside in the lockers at any time. They're open to 24 hours a day, and people are loving this service. There are 21 lockers. They are used all the time. We will probably need an additional bank of lockers added to that set. They were just wrapped yesterday, which means they received the library logo and other signs on them to let people know a little bit more about them. There is a 1-800 phone number on the outside of the locker in case anybody has difficulty. People coming to the locker punch in a code that they're sent via email. The locker pops open, retrieve your books, and you're on your way. We're very, very proud to offer that to our patrons. We also plan on opening a tech lab in January, and the tech lab will offer services such as using podcasting and sound equipment, using a Cricut fabrication device to cut materials, AutoCAD for drafting to make devices, video production, studio equipment, as well as editing tools and software, and a station for digitizing analog content. We filmed a video in the tech lab yesterday, just the staff, with Pramod Pradhan, who is our technology expert, as long as our community services librarian, to showcase the Kindness Project, which I'll tell you about in a minute. The Mayor's Youth Council is up and running. We are so proud to have these 11 teens on the council. They have met 3 times so far since September, twice virtually and once in person in the council chambers. They have members have represented their group in a weha.com interview and at a Human Rights Commission meeting. The Human Rights Commission has asked the Mayor's Youth Council to prepare a video for their annual celebration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the coming months, the Mayor's Youth Council subcommittees will work on their action projects this year, which include mental health and awareness for teens, social events for teens, and an international diversity night. They've also been asked to help rename New Street and to be part of the Witness Stones project. Other agencies and groups in town are reaching out to the Mayor's Youth Council for the members to give their expertise and opinions for their own projects. We also have a study pod for our patrons. This pod was paid for by the American Rescue Plan Act for libraries, as well as the Library Foundation. We've always had requests for our patrons for quiet, private study spaces. And we were not able to offer these before, but with this funding, we are. It's a square pod that sits in the adult department with an open roof so that it has fresh air, and a door to close with glass so that you are sitting in quiet and private, yet you are in the middle of a very busy building. So you can study, you can meet with up to 3 other people, and it fits the need of also COVID protocol with people not feeling comfortable sitting in the main room with others. We also have a new art curator that we've hired to curate up to 6 art shows per year for the library. We have just finished the 5th year of the Kindness Project, in which we collect hygiene products from the community. And the community is always incredibly generous. The items are given to the West Hartford Food Pantry, the Universalist Church Food Backpack Program for students, and the nurses' offices at Conard and Hall High Schools. This project is now going to be a national model for libraries across the country. We filmed the video yesterday to use as an instructional model for other libraries. We are also offering a Fiber Arts Book Club, weekly meetings of the Atlantic Monthly and New Yorker groups, a Night Owls book club, and a fiction writers group, aside from our many adult and children's programs. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Waxman. Does anyone have any questions? No, thank you for all that you're doing with the library. I mean, everything sounds so exciting, and the study pod, the youth council. I think the lockers are key and helped us so much during the pandemic, and I think that was a great move, and people are enjoying them. So we appreciate everything you guys are doing over at the library. Anybody else have any comments or questions for Mr. Sweeney?
I just want to applaud Carol and her team's work, as she has seen me over there quite a bit with my team. We utilize it quite a bit, and I just want to say it is such a gem to the town, and we are so lucky that you guys are doing such a great job managing it through the pandemic, and can't wait for it to open back up when it is safe for like full use for the little kids. I will have another person to throw in that mix, so we're very excited about that. But again, you guys have done a fantastic job, and just everyone on is doing great through all this. So really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and I will convey those thoughts to all the staff.
Thank you, Carol. Am I mistaken that we have a new library, head of library? Are you moving to back to just children's, or will this be our last meeting with you for a while?
Yes. I am moving back to children's and teens. I hope to stay on many of the committees that I'm on. I'm always here for anything that you need, and I will very much look forward to working with the new director.
Yes. Carol, thank you for all of your work. Just as a resident of West Hartford, as a friend and a colleague through some things, we just really appreciate everything that you do.
I appreciate that so very much. Thank you.
I also just want to say, Carol, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are such a strong advocate. You're passionate. You've gone above and beyond, and I'm so grateful for everything you have done. You've been a wonderful, wonderful public servant, and service to the community. We're so grateful.
Thank you, Mayor Kander. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve, and I will continue.
Ms. Fay?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Billings. Carol, I loved being on the library board. It was probably one of the joys of my life, and you guys do a tremendous job. And as interim acting, I believe is the word I learned the other day, you've done a spectacular job, and I really respect you and what you've been able to do, especially during the pandemic. So congratulations on a super, super job, and I'm glad that you'll still be with us back with the children, which you excel at. So thank you again for stepping up, and you did a marvelous job.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. Cortez?
I'd like to say thank you also, Carol. You make things easy for young families. My two boys, I remember, seeing you on there and, me trying to figure things out, and providing us the information of, where to get, what programs was available in the library. And, I will never forget you, so I appreciate all that you have done. And just know that, you're a great source for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. May I just mention one thing? Last evening, I received a phone call at my home from an acquaintance who is a friend of a friend, whatever. She is helping a family from Syria that just arrived in town, parents and 6 children. Called me at home. I was thrilled to tell her everything that I knew they could do and invite them to the library to get their own library cards. No one speaks English. It doesn't matter. They will have a library card. They will come. They will be welcome here. And it was just one of the most heartwarming moments for me in my job. So thank you all so very much. I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hart, I know that you have to leave soon. Can we come back to the Leisure and Social Services update and go to the town manager's report?
That would be fabulous. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt Hart, Town Manager. I would just like to echo the thanks and commendations for Carol. She certainly has done a fabulous job in this interim role, during a very challenging time. Carol's a great team player and a great leader and manager. The library board will be meeting tonight to vote on their preferred candidate, and I know they will be sending an announcement out to the full town council immediately following that meeting. And then I believe we'll see an article tomorrow. So we're really excited. I had an opportunity to meet with the candidate, and I was very impressed, and I think she'll be a good fit for us. But kudos to you, Carol. You've done a fabulous job for us, and I know this is not the first time either. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart, very much.
And
Third time.
Yeah. And in terms of other items, I don't have anything additional to add. I wanted to thank the staff for their reports and the committee members for the good discussion. And we're clear on the action items that we have for the full council and to report back for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. We will move to Leisure and Social Services report. Ms. Rubino.
Thank you. Helen Rubino, Turco Director. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank the town council for their support at Tuesday's town council meeting to secure the funding for the Eisenhower Pool design and have a plan for the construction. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a timeline on that. So we have selected a design firm, architecture design firm, and we intend to sign a contract with them in the next couple of days. And they will begin designing the pool, and they will have a couple of months to work back and forth with us about what we would like to see and how it would look. And then those bid documents would be ready by probably April, by March or April. And then we would put it out to bid, and we would select a contractor by May, and hopefully groundbreaking in June. It takes about a year to build a pool. They're very comfortable with the timeline. So we expect that we would be able to be finished by May of next year, and then do our finishing touches, filling the pool and making sure that everything's working in time for the June opening in 2023. So we really appreciate your support there. There are a number of other projects that are ongoing. In my staff report, at the bottom of my staff report is a photograph, an aerial drone shot of the work that we've been doing at Walcott Park. And I don't know if you all had a chance to see it, but it shows the new 4 new tennis courts, the 12 pickleball courts, and the new basketball courts, as well as the new parking lot. The new parking lot is just reopening. There's still a small punch list that needs to be done there, but it is open and functioning. And so the whole western side of Walcott Park is really sparkling now. We're working with youth baseball on some improvements to their field, and we're turning our attention to the eastern side of the parking lot, and as well as the pond. And so the eastern side, I should say, and the pond. We've also made some improvements to the community gardens there. So Walcott Park is well on its way to receiving some nice improvements, and we're really excited about that. On a programming side, I wanted to let you know that the West Hartford Waves swim team is something that had been a parent-run organization for many years. In fact, one of my boys participated, and it's a great way for kind of younger teens and certainly, you know, from like 5th grade on to kind of really become a good swimmer, and in middle school to swim, so that you're really ready and prepared if you want to be a swimmer to try out for the high school team and to participate. And the Waves program has had challenges with the parent running, and then of course the pandemic hit, so there was some difficulties there. But Cornerstone has taken it in-house, and they have launched it. So far, they have over 90 registrations for their Waves program. Parents are still, of course, involved and participating, but it's really nice to have the professional staff at Cornerstone leading this very important kind of feeder organization into our high school, and really teaching children to be lifelong swimmers. As you know, our golf courses are closed for the season. Actually, Rockledge is closed, but Buena Vista is still open this week. And I believe with the nice weather today and tomorrow that it will be busy there. But when they do close formally after tomorrow, they will open for walking trails for the public. And I just wanted to remind you and our community that dogs are allowed on leash in our golf courses and in our parks, but they're not allowed off leash. We do have some issues with dogs jumping on people or creating damage in our parks or in our golf courses, even during the off season. So I just wanted to remind, for the safety of everyone and for our to maintain our facilities, that we do require dogs to be on leash. And I just wanted to touch briefly on a social services side about our holiday program. you know, we really have a dedicated staff that, and of volunteers and staff. These are really dedicated volunteers that help support our Thanksgiving meal and gift card distribution, the children's holiday gift card distribution, the mitten run that was held a couple of days ago, a week ago. Obviously, the West Hartford Kindness Project, which is ending tomorrow. But there are numerous different organizations and actually town departments as well that are participating in the Adopt a Family. But I just wanted to highlight one thing that happened during November with our food pantry. And that was a collaboration that our pantry did with the Carrabba Foundation to distribute turkeys and perishable items. We haven't done this before. We don't have the capacity, but they provided a refrigerated delivery, and we more than doubled our bag distribution in November. And this happened in 2020 and in 2021. So kind of this expansion and during this very specific period of time was really very well received by our families that are in need. So we really appreciate their collaboration. And that concludes my report.
Hi, I think you're muted, Adrian.
Sorry, I was about to read your question. Thank you for letting me
Yeah,
know.
no. So I do have to jump off, but right now. So I just so you can read my question, and I guess I can get an email.
All right, sounds good. It says, I received a question of concern on why a student would need to be a member of Cornerstone to join swim team. It is a challenge for his family.
I was not aware of that. I will look into that and I will get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Ms. Rubino Turco, that update?
I just wanted to compliment her on the great work that has been done at Wolcott. It is a completely different park from what I grew up in, and really, as you all know, I'm a huge basketball head and love the new renovations to the court. It used to be a very unfriendly place for shooters, and now it looks like a really nice facility, and I'm really excited about it. And the parking lot also used to be a disaster, and I'm glad to see that. I can't speak to the pickleball and tennis because I am not skilled with a racket, but it looks fantastic from this view, and I think we should share that far and wide, and hopefully we can see some of our other parks kind of as we go over time look similar. But I know that you're working on it, and we're really excited about that. And thank you for your work on the Eisenhower. I know that was another COVID mess, and we're just all cleaning up what was left from us from 2020. But we appreciate the work that you guys have done on that.
Liam, are you saying that those courts are the reason why you were throwing up bricks? That's what you're blaming it on the court?
Of course, never.
Go ahead, Ms. Rubino Turco.
Thank you, Ms. Billing-Smith. Mr. Sweeney, you'll be delighted also to know that we are redoing, using the same post-tension concrete technology at Kennedy Park, and that project is currently underway. And that's the first piece, well, it's the second piece of some improvements at Kennedy Park, where we are now turning our attention. I also wanted to compliment Mark Blanchard on his fine work with and with Todd Petrosky, who is our parks and facilities manager, to work out a way of keeping our courts, our pickleball courts and our tennis courts available to our community as much as we can throughout the winter. So as of now, we will be leaving up our at Wolcott only. We will for this part. We're going to be turning the lights off at 8 o'clock. So we're not turning them off earlier. We'll leave the lights on and we'll leave the nets up so people can play, into the evening after work. But we also want to make sure that we're, keeping our facilities safe. And these are brand new courts. So we will, if winter weather arrives, we will slack the nets on the pickleball and tennis, and we will lock them and we will turn the lights off so that there's no opportunity to try and use those courts when it's not as weather permits. So we do not allow any clearing of snow or ice, and that's to protect our residents as well as to protect the courts. At Buena Vista, we will be renovating those courts starting in the spring. And so this winter we will leave the nets up. But again, we ask that people not use or try to clear any snow or to use the courts when there's snow or ice on them. And that's for their own protection as well as, especially at Walcott, to protect the facilities themselves as well. So, but we know pickleball is very popular, and so we are going to try and keep those courts open as long as we can, weather permitting.
Thank you, Helen. Mr. Cortez?
Helen, I have a question. You mentioned Kennedy Park, and I saw something on Neighbors and Friends not so long ago in regards to tents being, seen within the wooded area. Is there, and I ask you because, there's a safety issue, I'm guessing, but it's more of a social service issue also. And since we're going to be investing in this park, is there anything that we've been doing? Is there, in regards to the social service piece, do we have people that kind of go out and check these areas?
Thank you for your question. This is Helen Rubino, Turco again. So in social services, we do have a new hire, our social worker, Samantha Ennis, and she is a social work police liaison. And she will be and has already been conducting outreach to people who panhandle, as well as a visit with our social work team, and along with our community policing relations, to visit people who may be erecting tents. So we are conducting outreach and trying to connect people with services that they may need. So that has been addressed, will continue to be addressed. And we're very pleased to have this new opportunity in social services to have somebody that is trained on both sides in this role. It's a new role of a social worker, a police liaison social worker. This is a model that is being explored around the country, but there is no one size fits all. So what might work in Denver or in Tallahassee may not work in West Hartford. What may work in Hartford may not work in West Hartford. And so we worked very hard, our social services team, to analyze all of the variety of what definitions and workflow of what a person in that position might do. And we also, looked at what has been working and what hasn't been working. But it is a new field in the area of social work. And so we are tracking this. We are discussing it with, there are 2 universities in Connecticut, maybe 3, that are offering this kind of role. Eastern Connecticut State University and St. Joseph's University of St. Joseph in West Hartford. And I believe UConn may be developing this program as well. So again, no one size fits all, but in our community, we have Samantha Ennis, and she started with us in September and has been trained and is continuing to attend training to address the very issues that you raised. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. It's so nice to see that our community again is moving forward with the liaison and the social services area, because I think that's needed and I think it's important for our community going forward. Is there anyone else has any other comments? Future agenda items? For anyone? Do we, I see there's some projects you've mentioned going on in the parks. I'd love to see what other projects would be rolling out, come the spring, because I know we have to kind of fall off during the winter months, but coming in the spring, and that's all that I have right now. Anyone else?
We'd be happy to prepare a report for our next meeting.
Thank you. Well, at this moment, I guess we can adjourn the meeting. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. All right. Thank you guys so much. It was a great meeting. So much great stuff going on in our community, and I appreciate all the work that you do. This is our last meeting of the year. Next year, we will start having the third Mondays at 6 p.m. Thank you all for all of your hard work and everything you've done, and I wish you a wonderful holiday season. That's it.